It's like it's not working. I don't understand. Sorry. Um. I don't know. Can any of you hear me or see my broadcast? If you do see anything, please write down in the comments. Because for some reason my software or even YouTube Studio doesn't show that the stream is active. It's really weird. It just keeps saying connect your software to the live, but when I go to my channel I kinda do see I do see the live, so very weird. No, not only on YouTube. I'm, yeah, everywhere. I guess. Okay, so anyway, hopefully you do see me. Cool. So what I wanted to show you is something very cool that I wanted to show for some time now. So we are in Space Engine, which is one of my favorite softwares. Let me just mute myself because I hear myself. One of my favorite softwares. Do I still hear myself? No, that's okay. Okay. Anyway, so I wanted to show you like something very interesting. Usually when we look at NASA or even my images of planets, let me give you an example. Like let's see, like an image of Saturn that was captured by the Hubble Space Telescope, for example. So for example, this image. So usually when we do see those images, we kind of assume that that's how it looks, and the fact that it's so far away from us means that it's probably way darker. So I wanted to do like a video when I compare the luminosity of daylight on Earth, like let's say for example that we I don't know, live in Australia, and this is like daylight to us, and we will lock the camera exposure and everything, and we'll see what daylight looks on other planets. Like if we would take the same camera with the same settings that we look on Earth and look in other planets and see how daylight looks over there. Like if we were to land on, for example, Ganymede, the moon of Jupiter, what would daylight look there? So the first thing we need to do, this software allows for something that's not really possible in real life, which is showing, you know, daylight exposure combined with seeing stars and even the Milky Way, which is impossible because normal cameras in our eyes won't be able to see, for example, the sun next to the Milky Way. It would just be too bright, and the dynamic range would just be too huge for us to see. So what the software also provides is a tool that makes it again seem like we would see in reality. So let me just turn off the high dynamic range. Okay, so now what we see is when we look at something so bright like the Earth, we don't see any stars. In order for us to see stars, we have to go completely to the black side or do not see any of the sunlight, and then we can see stars. And of course, I mean, if I look at stars and use exposures that allow me to see stars, then let me even brighten this a bit. If I lock the camera exposure and I look at Earth, I would see it very overexposed. Like look at it, looks like a white sphere. I mean, this is the night side of Earth with exposure to be able to see stars. So you understand what's happening. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set it to auto exposure, and then I'm going to land on Earth. Let's take it to like anywhere on Earth, like say for example here, and then we look like we will see what sunlight look like, which is something like this. I mean, this is something that we used to see on Earth during daylight, and now I'm gonna lock the exposure. So there's no more auto exposure, and let me fly away from Earth. So that's what we will see during sunlight, during normal daylight on Earth. This is the exposure. By the way, if you have any questions, then feel free to write them down and I'll try to answer. Okay, so our first stop is the moon. Let's go to our moon. And again, we don't see any stars because the exposure is just way too short for us to see stars. If we land on the surface and we see something like this, which is probably what most people would expect, there is a dark atmosphere because there is no atmosphere, and so the sky would be dark, but I mean the sun would still be very bright and very visible, and the ground will look something like this. Okay, so now let's move further away to the more outer planets. We'll start with Mars. Okay, so as you probably guessed it by now, Mars is gonna look a bit darker than Earth. So again, exposure is locked to daylight on Earth, and now we're going to land on Mars. Okay, so this is what daylight on Mars should look like. Where's the sun? This is the sun, and this is the ground, so the atmosphere looks mostly dark. And of course this is an estimation because this is a software and it's simulated, but I mean it's supposed to be very close to reality. This is a very this is mostly very accurate software. Okay, so this is Mars, a bit darker than the Earth, but we still, you know, very much can see everything we need to see. Like this looks like a kind of a dusk on Earth. Okay, so moving on. Let's move on to somewhere a bit further away, which is Jupiter. And the distance from Jupiter to Earth is a lot further away than the distance from Mars to Earth. Okay, so big surprise. We can hardly even see Jupiter from this distance, and it is fully daylight. This is how the daylight on Jupiter looks compared to Earth. Look at how dark this is. Let's hop over to one of Jupiter's moon. For example, Ganymede is over here, and we can land on it because it's a rocky moon. And okay, landing on Ganymede during daytime, look at how dark everything is. It's incredibly dark. It seems like nighttime compared to Earth. And again, this is daylight. Right. So this is Ganymede. What do you say? We move further. I mean, if we move past Saturn, I would tell you, you're not gonna see anything. It's super dark. But let's go to Saturn. I almost can't see anything. I'm probably I mean, I'm sure you guys can't see either. Saturn, ladies and gentlemen, in complete daylight. So dark. Let's try to land on Titan, for example, which is a planet that has an it's the only moon in the solar system that has an atmosphere. I can't even see it. I mean, I don't know even how to land on it because I can't even see it. It's so dark. Okay, so I'm gonna turn the auto exposure again now, because this is just too dark and I can't see anything. But okay. So now you're beginning to understand where we are, and also you understand what is done in order to capture those images. I mean, even my images of Saturn and all the other planets is different than reality, because I use different exposure in order to get, you know, the details that I want to get. Like, let me show you just one example, which is also, by the way, the reason it's so hard to image those planets. But this is my video. It's just a live video from the camera that I took of Saturn. But as we saw right now, it's so dark. So seeing this through my camera means that I have to shoot in higher exposures, and this is not how Saturn looks like in daylight. This is a lot brighter than it should look. Okay, so what else can we see? I mean, what's more? What else is interesting in the same matter? Let's go back to Earth, and we will relock the exposure to Earth's daytime, and we'll try to go to the more inner planets and see the difference. I mean, we're going to see how daylight on Earth looks like there. So again, locking the exposure, moving further away from Earth. Exposure is locked. You can see that even though I go into the darkness, complete darkness, the exposure doesn't change and I don't see anything. And now let's go on to Venus. So Venus is a bit more, a bit closer to the sun than Earth, and you can already see the difference, the huge difference. It looks completely white. I mean, it does have a thick atmosphere, so suppose we go to the surface, we do see something that's not completely bright, but I mean, look at this. I mean, it looks completely white. The exposure is just too much on Venus. So what do you think is going to happen if we go to Mercury, for example? By the way, same thing happens when I use my telescope and aim it at Venus. I get the same result. It's just super bright, and I have to lower my exposure to be able to see it. Otherwise, it's just too bright. Let me show you an example. So this is an image that I took of Venus, and normally when you image it, you know, just with the kind of regular settings, it's just too bright and it's just overexposed, and you have to reduce the light. Okay, so let's hop over to Mercury. And Mercury, of course, is a lot closer to the sun, but the difference is that Mercury doesn't have an atmosphere, so still looks very bright. I mean, the daylight side, super bright. Probably won't be able to see anything in this light, and of course it's also very hot. But it doesn't have an atmosphere, so the sky still looks completely black. There's an area of Mercury which is between daylight and nighttime, which the temperature might be okay for humans. The temperatures might be, you know, relatively convenient for us humans. But of course, being that close to our star means a lot of radiation is received. Hey Dave, what's up? Good evening. Okay, so I guess this is a kind of a cool tour of our solar system. I mean, of course, there are other places to visit, but I mean, hopefully this gives you like a kind of you know, a different view on the solar system, because most of the time when you look at images of planets, you don't really think on how dark they are during daylight. I mean, we all know that the temperatures on Saturn and Jupiter are very low. We all know that it's minus this and that degrees on this moon, and of course we all understand why, because it's far away. But just think about standing on a planet and looking at the sun, and the sun being like, you know, maybe like full moon, you know, luminous like the full moon, not nothing more than that. And so of course it will be very, very cold there. Almost no radiation from the sun can hit the surface. We can go, this cool software allows you to kind of travel at any speed that you want, like faster, way faster than the speed of light. Like currently I'm traveling at about 800 times the speed of 800 light years per second, which is incredibly fast. It's you know, millions of times faster than the speed of light. And this software allows you to go and visit essentially wherever you want in the universe. Like now I'm just, you know, hovering over the Milky Way galaxy. I mean, being this far away from her Earth is very, you know, even if I wanted to go back without me, you know, typing in the search Earth, I would probably never find it. There it is. And of course we know that each of those points of light is an entire solar system, and the Milky Way is just incredibly huge. We can select any of those systems and just right click, go to object. Oops, sorry, I went and just select the entire galaxy. So anyway, we can just select any of those points and just click go to object, and the software will render an entire solar system for that object. So specifically this is wait, I didn't go all the way to it. Oh, okay, this is a kind of a binary system. There are two suns here, one including lots of planets. We can go and visit those planets. Let me try to select one of them. Very cool software. Okay, this is a very interesting system. It has two suns, so there's daytime from both directions. What's this ticket 0? I don't understand. Is that your name? Invisible tracker. Sorry, I don't understand what you're writing here. Anyway, you can even leave the entire galaxy and go visit other galaxies. Like, you know, you can each of those points is an entire galaxy, so you can go visit any of those random galaxies and just have completely different views and completely different stars. So this is a galaxy that is shaped a bit differently than the Milky Way. And you can also, of course, go and look for known galaxies, like for example the Whirlpool galaxy, which is one of the prettiest galaxies that I know of. It's kind of overlays an image of the galaxy with 3D rendering of what it thinks will be there. I mean, the amount of stars should be like pretty much as we think it should be. So we can go, for example, to M87, which is one of the biggest galaxies that we know of. It's a spherical galaxy and has trillions of stars. Okay, so anyway, guys, if you have nothing else to add or ask, we'll just say thank you for watching this short live broadcast. And that's it. See you next time. I honestly don't know if the live broadcast looked well. I mean, it's probably very compressed because of YouTube's compression. But yeah. Thanks anyway. And if you do like this, then let me know so I know if to make more of those broadcasts. Okay, goodbye, guys.